Hey guys, welcome to part 3 of What If Naruto Was Trained by Hiruzen. If you enjoy the video then like, share and subscribe and also comment your thoughts as it inspires me to make more such videos and remember to check out my playlist section for other interesting stories. So let's get started. Chapter 21, Getting to Know You. Team Anko walked along the route that would lead them toward an no Kuni land of bean jam. At the pace they were setting, they would arrive at the city in 2 days. Aiko stood in the middle of Anko's diamond formation. Anko was in the back, Naruto was on her left, Yakumo to her right and Jacken was in front. So far, it was smooth walking, and not one attacked them. Aiko looked at them and decided to start a conversation. So, what made you guys want to be ninja? It sounds like a dangerous lifestyle. Aiko said. Yeah, it's dangerous, but it's a cool lifestyle. We stand for good, and everything right in the world, Naruto said. Is that so? Aiko said with interest. He's still a child. The shinobi world isn't as sunny as the brat says. Anko said, ignoring Naruto's glare. So it's not all sunny like Naruto said? She asked. No, sometimes we do things that others find disgusting and disturbing. We aren't seen in too positive light as our hands are stained with blood. Yakumo explained. Come on, that sounds depressing. If you think like that, then the whole world is dark. Naruto interjected. She's just being truthful, Naruto. You know the truth as well. Anko said. True, but that doesn't mean we have to depress the client with our gloomy lifestyle. Naruto said. The brat has a point. Anko admitted. Aiko giggled as she observed them. You all seem very close to one another. Aiko said. They see me like a cool aunt. Anko said. More like a psychotic aunt. Naruto muttered. The psychotic aunt who escapes solitary confinement. Yakumo added. What was that, you stupid brats? Anko growled. Nothing, sensei. They both said. Aiko laughed, but then looked at the back of Jacken. She was curious as to why he wasn't saying anything. Do you have anything to add, Jacken? She asked. We kill, we die, that's all I have to say. Jacken said darkly. Everyone looked at the teen with confusion. Jacken was a jerk, but he wasn't that much of a jerk. Yakumo decided to change the subject. So Aiko-san, why is it that you chose this path in life? She asked. Jacken scoffed at the question. It wasn't by choice. My father had debts, and sold me to cover them. I could have left the life after the debt was paid, but I got used to it. It isn't a respected life, but it is one that I have come to accept. Aiko said. Of course, you got used to it. Doing any real work would be too hard for a whore. Jacken muttered. Anko was quickly in front of him and gave him a hard slap to his cheek. That's enough, Jacken. If you have nothing good to say, then shut your mouth. Anko said with authority. Jacken rubbed his cheek and looked at Anko. She saw that he did not look sorry for anything that he said. Anko sighed and gave him a hard look. Why don't you make yourself useful and scout ahead? Yes, ma'am. Jacken said, and he was gone. She turned back to Aiko and her team. I'm sorry about him. He's never so rude toward clients. Anko said. No, it's all right. What he said isn't as bad as what most say. Aiko said with a smile. Naruto and Yakumo looked at each other and decided to get to the bottom of Jacken's behavior. A few more hours later, Team Anko was beginning to set camp. Their tents were already up and Naruto had sent some clones to get some firewood. Aiko was setting up her spot with Yakumo helping her. She gave a look to Anko who then in turn gave a look to Naruto. Nodding, Naruto walked up to Jacken. Yo Jacken, come and spar with me and bring you Kusarigama with you. Naruto said. I ain't in the mood, pipsqueak. Jacken said. Oh come on, all of a sudden you're scary of the mighty Naruto. Trust me, you won't even lay a blade on me. Naruto boasted. Jacken narrowed his eyes, but he looked at Anko. She waved them off as an okay. Okay then, Just don't bitch when I take your arm off. Jacken said. The two walked away to find a place to train. They found a clearing and began to spar. After half an hour of sparring, Naruto decided to talk. So, what's your deal, man? Naruto asked. He moved in close and began to thrust his staff in his face. What are you talking about, pipsqueak? Jacken said as he dodged his repeated thrusts. He wrapped his chain around the end and pulled it down. Naruto brought the other end down on his head, but Jacken blocked it with the sickle. What's with the attitude toward Aiko-chan? Your usual rude, but the way you've been acting is out of line. Naruto said. Jacken growled and pushed him away. Naruto hopped back before Jacken's kick could connect. He twirled the chain around his staff and pulled on it. Jacken stopped him from pulling him in. That's none of your business. Jacken snarled. Well, I'm making it my business. Look man, we're teammates. We train together, we escape Anko together and we've killed together. I would like to think that we've become cool enough to tell each other things when we're bothered with something. Naruto spoke. Jacken's snarl died down to a frown. He sighed and calmed down. Feeling the chain slacken, Naruto relaxed as well. You know about my father, right? Jacken began. The guy who sent you to kill me, what about him? Naruto asked. He always told me that he never wanted me. He said that I was left on his doorstep because that whore didn't want me either. He explained. Wait a minute, you're saying that you father screwed a prostitute and got her pregnant? Yeah. He never let up on telling me that. He would always call her a whore and curse her for leaving me on his doorstep. I know what it feels like, Naruto, to hear such things over and over again. Jacken told him. Naruto did know what he was talking about. While it had reduced, he would be called a demon from time to time. I don't hate the woman, but I just have a strong dislike for prostitutes. I don't respect them, and I won't talk highly of them. He then sighed and looked at his teammate. Look, if it will make everyone feel better, I'll apologize and I'll keep my opinions to myself. I guess that's the best I can ask for. So, Naruto got back into his stance. Let's finish this spar. Jacken scoffed and readied himself for another go. Yakumo released her genjutsu that she used to hide herself and Aiko. Yakumo looked at Aiko, who had a sad expression on her face. The woman stood and walked back to the camp without a word. When she was gone, Anko appeared next to her student. Anko had a very good look on who Aiko was. She patted her student's head and the two made their way back to the camp. Midoshi was walking around on the surface. The people above ground gave her a wide berth as they knew who she was. She wasn't paying attention to any of them. She had 6 months to get ready for the Shoyunin exams that would be held in Konoha. She knew this because Orochimaru had plans for his old village during those exams. She didn't really care about gaining any type of rank as she found them ridiculous. Still, she needed a team to help her. Orochimaru had given her some names. She found 3 that would satisfy her plans. She finally reached the place that she was looking for. She entered the grounds and was standing in front of a small house. She stood there with her arms folded and waited. I'm looking for the Fuma clan members that Orochimaru has under his thumb. She called out. Suddenly, 5 figures appeared and surrounded her. Midoshi looked at them with an uninterested gaze. Am I to assume that you are the members who are with Orochimaru? Yes, we are the guardians of the entrances to the Sound Village. What do you wish of us, Lady Midoshi? Asked the elder male. You must be Arashi. I have need of 2 of your members to help me with a little project. Midoshi said. Who exactly do you need? Arashi questioned. The ones you call Kodohime and Keidro. I need them so that we may train for the next Shoyunin exam. She explained. This surprised the group that she would want them for that. Arashi looked at the 2 and motioned them to Midoshi. Midoshi looked at the 2 and analyzed them. She was confused with Keidro, who she assumed was a girl. Arashi saw this and explained. Keidro is quite good at concealing herself. She can become anyone at any time. Even the best censor would not tell the difference. He explained. A very useful skill, and I know about your skills as well, Konoha. You two will help me greatly within these exams. She said. They bowed to her. We are at your service. They said. Good. Let us go and meet our sensei. She said. She left, and the two followed her to her next destination. They reached a cave that was outside the village. Midoshi told the two to wait there, and went on ahead of them. As she neared the cave, two projectiles were flying toward her. Midoshi didn't look concerned as her sash knocked them aside. She looked at the weapons and saw that they were made of pink crystal. She looked at the cave with a sigh. Are we going to do this every time we have to meet Garen? Midoshi asked. A figure jumped out of the cave and landed in front of her. The female had blue hair and brown eyes. She wore a green robe with lavender fur and black shorts. She had lavender leg warmers and shin warmers. She gave Midoshi a glare and formed a blade on her forearm. What the hell do you want, Midoshi? Garen spat. Come on, you're still not angry with me? Midoshi asked with amusement. Garen looked ready to attack when Midoshi vanished. Garen threw her blade back to catch Midoshi. Midoshi reappeared and blocked her slash with her bracers. She then grabbed her arm and the other before she could make a move. Her sash appeared under Garen's chin. Can you relax for just a few seconds? I'm not here to fight you again. I have a proposition for you. Why would I want anything from you? You humiliated me in front of Lord Orochimaru? Garen spat. Get over it. Be happy that he still keeps you around. Besides, this may put you into his personal circle. Midoshi said. She felt Garen relax and released her. She jumped back and landed away from her. Garen rubbed her shoulders and glared at her. What's this proposition that you are offering? Garen asked. Midoshi smiled. The three girls stood in front of Midoshi. She looked at them with a serious expression. Well now, this will be our team from now on. 6 months from now, the Shoyunin exams will be held in Konoha. During these exams, Orochimaru will be planning an attack on his old village. Midoshi explained. So we are a part of the invasion force? Konoha asked. If you want to be, I'm forming this team so that I can get to the finals. After the first 2 parts, we will go our separate ways. Midoshi said. What are you planning, Midoshi? Garen demanded. There are individuals that I wish to see again. Since the exam has to be done in teams, I formed one. Midoshi answered. So we're nothing more than a means to an end? Garen snarled. Not really, who knows, we might grow to become friends. Midoshi said happily, making everyone look at her with concern. Midoshi looked at Garen. You will be the sensei of this team. I myself will be preparing for the exam with my family. It is your job to get these two ready in 6 months. Garen just nodded stiffly. Midoshi left, leaving a serpent behind to keep an eye on them. Team Anko were about 2 hours away from the city when Anko called for a rest. She looked at the group with a smile on her face. Everyone was on edge when they saw that smile, which made Anko grin wider. Oh, don't give me that look. I just need some help in filling our canteens. Yakumo, Naruto, you guys come with me. Anko said. Ah, sensei, maybe I should help you. Jacken asked. Oh no. You're the strongest out of all of us. I trust you to protect Aiko-san. Come on brats, let's go. Anko ordered and left before any other arguments could be made. Now alone, Jacken and Aiko sat in complete silence. It was an uncomfortable silence which made both of them tap their foot. Aiko sighed and turned toward Jacken. You don't like me, do you? Aiko said. Jacken did not answer her and continued to ignore her. I know you don't like me. I'll confess, I overheard you talking with your teammate. I can't speak for myself, but I feel that you do have the right to dislike those in my profession. I know that I was angry at my father for what he did to me. I cursed his name for most of my life. Then I learned that he was dying. At first, I didn't want to go, but I changed my mind. I wanted him to look upon me and see what he had done to his only child. So what happened? Jacken asked. I was all prepared to rub it in his face and spit on his grave when I saw him. He looked so weak and frail. When he saw me, he wouldn't even look at me. At first, I thought he was ashamed at me, but that's when I saw him crying. He forced himself to a kneeling position and placed his forehead to me feet. He begged me to forgive him. He told me that he was sorry for what he had done. He was sorry for his weakness. He was sorry for condemning me to such a life. It was such an eye-opener to me. She said. Did you forgive him? He asked. I didn't want to, but to watch him grovel at my feet, crying and begging for me to forgive him, how could I not? From the day he gave me away, his heart had weakened. It showed me that he always thought of me, always regretted the decision he made. I couldn't hate him for that. Jacken couldn't help but look at her in a new light. He didn't think that he would be so forgiving. Could he really forgive his parents for the hellish life that he lived? It gave him something to think about. It was around that time that his team returned. After the short rest, they were on the move again. Aiko stood with the men that hired her. She looked back at Team Anko with a smile. I enjoyed this little trip. Thank you for all your hard work. She said. No problem. You're pretty cool for a call girl. Naruto blurted out. Yakumo and surprisingly, Jacken slapped him upside the head. Jacken looked at Aiko and vice versa. She smiled at him, which made Jacken blush a little. He turned his head to hide it for her. Aiko walked with the men into the city. She was a few feet inside when she heard someone call to her. It was Anko. The woman stood in front of her. Yes. Aiko asked. Are you ever going to tell him? Anko asked. Was it that obvious? She asked in humor. Pretty much. Maybe you should let him know. I think that you've gotten your foot in the door. No, at least not yet. 15 years ago, I gave him up because I was vindictive and selfish. When I saw him when your team was after Jiraiya-sama, guilt clenched my heart. Right now, he doesn't know what to think about me. Hopefully, I can arrange a couple of meetings where we can talk again. Aiko said. Or you can write to each other. I can arrange that. Anko said. Thank you, Anko. Please watch over him. No worries, I'll turn him into one badass ninja. You'll be reading about him pretty soon. Anko said. The two shook hands and went their separate ways. Anko could only smile as she made her way back to her team. She wondered if she could make some money reuniting sons with their mothers. Chapter 22, Team Anko's Vacation Part 1. Hiruzen had seen a lot of funny things in his time. The time he and Drea spied on the women at the hot spring, and he left his student to deal with the consequences of getting caught, that was funny. Now, that moment was topped by what was in front of him today. Anko was tiredly giving her report. She would yawn after every 5 words and didn't seem to care that she was in front of her leader. Her team wasn't any different. Yakumo was trying to be respectful, but she too would yawn and she would occasionally drift asleep. Jacken and Naruto didn't even care where they were and were sleeping while standing. Jacken was snoring while his head was bent back. Naruto was leaning his head against Anko's thigh, which didn't seem to bother her in the slightest. It was an amusing sight to him. As he halfway listened to Anko, he looked over her team's records. Well, I can understand their fatigue. 2 C ranks that were upgraded to B rank, and a B rank mission as well. They have a ton of D rank missions. Perhaps they deserve a vacation. Hiruzen said. And that, Anko yawned before continuing, is my report on our mission. She said. Very well then, I will put this in your records. The Hokage said. He then looked at the team in front of him. I have decided that this team deserves a vacation. Every member of the team was up instantly. Did I hear vacation? Jacken asked. Yes, I've see here that you've been working around the clock. Your performance with your missions are above satisfactory. You all deserve at least a month off. How does that sound? Hiruzen asked. When he got no answer, he looked up and saw that they were gone. He gave out a frustrated sigh at this team's antics. They were beginning to act a lot like their sensei. Anko had dragged her team to a local bar. They sat in a booth and were waiting for their food. Anko ordered a bottle of sake and 4 saucers. She poured the liquid into all 4 saucers and put one in front of her team. The team looked at the liquid and then back at Anko. I don't think that this is a good idea. Yakumo said. Oh, stop being a stick in the mud. This is to celebrate our 8 months together as a team. We have gone through some good and some bad, but we have become an even tighter group. So, you guys are going to have a drink with me. I promise, we will only have one drink. Anko said. They team nodded and downed their drinks. The young genin started to cough as the liquid kind of burned their throats. That's when their food arrived. As they ate, Anko caught her team's attention. Okay guys, I know that we have a whole month off, but I don't want you guys to slack off. Each of us, including me, must continue to increase our skills. You can still relax, but I want at least 2 new techniques for each of you. Anko said. Does that include you as well? Naruto asked. Sure. Why not? I lead by example, that what's make me so cool. Anko said. Her team didn't comment on that. Okay. I know that I promised that we would have one drink, but I would like to ask you guys if we can have another. The others agreed and Anko poured out some more sake. They missed the sinister grin on her face. The next day found Yakumo halfway off her bed. Her hair was a mess, and she looked like that she had gone a couple of rounds with Anko. She groaned and grabbed her head. She fell out of bed and hit the ground with a thud. She groaned some more and forced herself to her feet. She wobbled a little but she managed to regain her balance. Her appearance a mess, she made her way out of her room and around the compound. She wondered why some of her clansmen were snickering but shrugged it off. She entered the kitchen where her uncle and parents were. Seeing her state, Unkai couldn't help but chuckle. Yoroko glared at him. This is not funny. Yoroko exclaimed. Her sensei should be more responsible than this. I can't believe that my daughter did what she did last night. Mother please, my head hurts. Yakumo groaned. It happens my child when you drink too much. It's called a hangover. Murakumo said. Hangover? What are you talking about? Yakumo sighed. Unkai smiled and handed her a glass filled with a liquid. Yakumo took it and drank it. She got a disgusted look on her face as the drink tasted bad. Ugh, what is this? It's a hangover cure. Give it some time, and you'll remember what you did last night. Unkai said with mirth. Young lady, you will never drink again. Yoroko commanded. Is this the type of behavior that you wish to pass on to your sibling? Sibling what sibling? Yakumo said, now full aware. Yoroko covered her mouth as Murakumo and Unkai just chuckled. Murakumo walked up to his daughter. How would you feel about being elder sister? He asked. Yakumo suddenly got a huge smile and hugged her father. Despite the memory lost of last night, Yakumo couldn't help but be happy. Naruto took a sip of the coffee that Hiruzen gave him. Asuma and Toshiko were in the kitchen along with the two. Hiruzen just shook his head with a smile as did Asuma and Toshiko. Now, I thought that you were intelligent to know not to trust Anko. Toshiko asked. I know, I screwed up. I should have been more cautious after that third cup of sake. Naruto admitted. Still, it was a funny night. I don't think I've seen Kakashi so pissed. How did you get his mask? Asuma asked. I can't really remember, but I'm glad that I did. I did put him on the list. Ow, my head. Naruto groaned. I hope that you learned something from this Naruto-kun. The devil's drink is no fun. Toshiko said. True, but the events are pretty funny. You think the Anbu will forgive us for that joke we pulled? Naruto asked. I'm sure that they will forgive you eventually. Hiruzen said. He then got serious. So, you wish to get better control of the Kyuubi's chakra. I must ask you this, Naruto, but are you sure? I know that your battle with Midoshi has made you train harder, but do you believe that this is the right course? I believe that the Yondaime put the fox in me for a reason. I figure that I should get a handle on its power in case that reason comes forward. Yeah, Midoshi has some reason to me wanting to control more, but I just want to be prepared, you know. Naruto said. Hiruzen wasn't so sure about this, but he did understand. He knew that Minato never did anything without a reason. I'm not disagreeing with your request, Naruto, but I do want Drea to help you with this. He understands your seal better than I, Hiruzen said. Naruto groaned at that. He didn't really respect Ero Sennin despite him allowing him to sign the Toad contract. Naruto reluctantly agreed. Hiruzen suddenly got an idea. How about we train together again, Naruto? I'm curious to see how far your skills have progressed. Alright. Naruto cheered loudly, but quickly calmed himself and grabbed his head in pain. Asuma and Hiruzen just laughed. Anko was laying on her couch. She took a sip of coffee and was reading a copy of Ika Ika. She was wearing a blue shirt and red panties. She was brought out of her reading by a knock on her door. She stood and slowly made her way to the door. She grabbed a bat from her closet and looked out her peephole. I swear to Kami, if you Anbi guys think I'm going down without a fight, Anko began. It's me, you crazy bitch. A female voice said. Anko relaxed a bit and opened the door. She looked to see her good friend Hana. Please, who are you calling a bitch? I thought that term was only reserved for you Inuzuka women. Anko joked. Hana just chuckled at her. So are you sober enough to come out? Hana asked. I'm sober, but I don't think it would wise for me to step outside. I heard that there is a bounty out on me. I'm kind of applauded that they're only after me and not my team. Anko said sourly. You got them drunk and caused mayhem around the village. Even if Uzumaki is the village outcast, they're not going to blame him for what his sensei did. Hana said with amusement. Besides, Kurena has just been promoted to Jonin. We have to go and celebrate. You're kidding. Okay then, I'll go get dressed. Anko said. She closed her door and went to get dressed. Yakumo walked around town looking for both Jacken and Naruto. She had checked their apartments, and then the training grounds. She checked Ikiraku's ramen and Iame was able to point her in the direction of the academy. She made her way there and found the two sitting in a tree. She quickly joined them. Hey guys, what are you up to? Yakumo asked. We're checking out the new blood. Word is this class is made up with a lot of the future clan leaders. Jacken said. Get out. Who are we talking about? She asked. The Yamanaka heiress, the Hyuga heiress, you name it, this group has it. Naruto said. Yakumo just nodded. Naruto then looked at Yakumo. So, were you looking for us? Yeah, I have two things to tell you. First, I'm going to be an elder sister. Yakumo said. Hey, congratulations. Jacken said with happiness. Naruto gave her a hug. Thanks guys. The second thing is that I won't be around the village for like 2 weeks. I'm going with my family to Kuni land of hot water to spend some time together. She explained. Okay then, have fun with your family, Yakumo. Naruto said. Yakumo nodded and was about to leave, but she stopped herself to look at her teammates. Hey guys, did we actually cause a stampede with the Nara clan's deer? Yakumo asked. Both boys just sighed. Let's agree never to drink again, or to trust Anko in the presence of a kahole. Jacken said. Agreed. The two said. Anko, Hana, and Kurena were at the local tea shop. Anko kept looking over her shoulder, which made Hana chuckle and Kurena sigh. I'm quite sure that the Hokage will not allow everyone to get you, Kurena said. However, it was irresponsible of you to drink so much and drag your students into it. It was especially stupid to give liquor to the village's #1 prankster. I don't think I've ever seen Elder Utatane so angry. She'll get over it. Besides, it was funny, Anko said. She then changed the topic. So Kurena, what is going to be your first assignment? I'll be in charge of one of the new genin teams coming out of the academy, she said. Ah, following in the steps of your mentor. I don't blame you. If you need some pointers, then you can come to me, Anko said. I'll consider it, Kurena said warily. So, what are you going to do with your month off? Hana asked. Drink, sleep, cause trouble, might even let someone have the pleasure of my company. I really haven't decided yet. I do know one thing though. I'm going to train for most of this vacation, Anko said. Am I hearing this? Is the great Anko Mitarashi actually admitting that she isn't that strong? Has the end of the world come? Hana joked. Ha, 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 laugh it up. My little brats are actually getting better. They've actually forced me to summon my snakes in order to match them. I'm proud of them, but I don't want them to cream me. I don't know where Naruto is learning Fuinjutsu, but when I find out, I'm going to kick them in the nuts. Anko muttered. Well, you've always expressed a need to learn the sword. Why don't you start there? Kurena said. And you've always wanted to learn more ninjutsu. You can seek out Kakashi, Hana added. I don't know about that. I could ask Hayate, but he's always sick these days and Yugao wants to hurt me for last night's incident. I'm definitely not on Kakashi's friend list after I stole his book and handed him to those horny women without his mask. I think I did him a favor, Anko said. That might be true, but when has that ever stopped you before? Hana asked with a smile. Anko nodded in agreement at that. Well then, into the lion's den then. Anko cheered. Hana cheered along with her. Kurena shook her head at her friends. Garen looked over the two beaten members of the Fuma clan. She looked at them with a little interest. At least you two are doing better than last time. In the 3 weeks that you have been here, you have improved quickly, Garen said. Thank you, Garen sensei, Keitaro said. You could ease up a little, you know. Konoha growled. Quit your complaining, I'm only training you two for Midoshi and her plans. I can't believe that I'm helping that witch, Garen complained. I'm more concerned about these individuals that she wants to reunite with. I've heard stories about things that gain her interest, Konoha said. Whatever, I don't really care too much. I'm just here to make sure that you don't get killed. Now come on, it's time to get back to training. I've got a week and 5 months left to torture you two, Garen said. Midoshi sat calmly on top of Manda's head. The Snake Lord did nothing to her, but Midoshi felt his unrest and annoyance. You are very tense, Manda Chichi, father. Is there something wrong? Midoshi asked. I am concerned about your interest in this boy. It is strictly a strength thing, right? Manda asked. You need to relax, Chichi. I am not interested in any boy. He challenged my strength, and I must answer it. Besides, he summons those dreadful toads. I would never like a boy like that, she said. Good. I won't have to eat him, he commented, making her laugh. In Konoha, Naruto looked scared for some reason. Manda then turned his attention back to Midoshi. So how is the heavy Genzao snake development? It is quite a jutsu. My team is training again. I picked the right people for my plans. She cut off the technique when she sensed another serpent coming. She smiled when she saw her. Ah, Mistress Kasumi, have you gotten my weapon? Yes, and I must say that it is my best work, Kasumi said. From out of her mouth, a sword appeared. It was a beautiful sword that looked like a Chinese yen. Midoshi admired her blade and was very pleased. It is a beautiful sword, and I know that it's strong. She said. Yes, it will take you a while to master. I have a scroll here for you with the properties of your blade. It was a pleasure to craft this. Kasumi said. Thank you, Mistress Kasumi. Midoshi said. Kasumi slithered off and Midoshi opened the scroll. She couldn't wait to get training. The next 5 months were going to be fun. Chapter 23, Team Anko's Nighttime Mayhem. Side stories, Team Anko's Nighttime Mayhem. The owner of the restaurant couldn't believe how stupid his waiter was. How the hell could he have not seen the situation that was in front of him? All over the table, there were 10 large bottles of sake. The women and 3 teenagers were clearly under the influence of the drink as they kept giggling at nothing. He sighed and knew that he had to get some new help. What he couldn't believe was that the woman allowed these kids to drink so much. A drunken Team Anko was giggling and laughing at jokes that didn't make any sense. Anko was only going to drink as much as she could so that she could watch as her team act like idiots, but the call of the sake was too strong. Now, she was just as wasted as they are. Suddenly, she got an idea in her head. Hey guys, we should do something tonight. We should do something fun tonight. Anko said. That's when Naruto slammed his hand on the table. I know what we can do. He exclaimed. We should prank the village. Naruto said in a way that would be interesting. That is awesome. That is just freaking awesome. Jacken cheered. Alright then, let's get going. Anko exclaimed and rallied her troops. They paid for the meal and drink then were out the door. The owner, waiters, and customers all looked at the door that the team just left through. Should we alert the Hokage? Asked one of the customers. Are you insane? I'm not leaving this place. Didn't you just hear what they are about to do? Said her companion. I'll keep the place open until it is over. The owner said. He turned to one of his waiters. Lock the doors and pull down the shades. He felt bad for those on the outside, but he wasn't about to get caught in that storm that was about to happen. Kakashi was walking along reading his book, unaware of the evil that was about to be unleashed. He made his way to his apartment, but he suddenly felt something was wrong. He looked up from his book, but didn't notice anything out of the ordinary. Hey Kakashi, a sexy voice called out to him. He turned to see Anko, who had returned to wearing her old clothes. He noticed that her trench coat was down to her waist. She had this coy smile on her which put him on edge. What are you doing tonight? Well, I was going to catch up on my reading. What about you? Kakashi asked. I'm bored and drunk, and I need some action. What do you say? I'll even let you keep the mask on. Anko said coyly. Kakashi had to think really hard about this. He knew Anko's reputation and thought that it had changed when she got a team. Still, this was Anko and a drunken Anko to boot. He watched as Anko uncrossed and recrossed her legs, giving him a good view of what she wasn't wearing. That made him his decision all the more clear. He was about to answer her when he suddenly felt sleepy. He was confused as he dropped to a knee. He looked up to see 2 Ankos and her 2 male members before passing out. The Anko in her original clothing disappeared to reveal Yakumo. Anko looked at her female student. Nice going, Yakumo, now let's get that mask off. They did, and were surprised at how good he looked. Anko had this wide smile on her face. Well now, I wouldn't mind a little fun with Kakashi. Anko said. Let's take the picture. Jacken said. Naruto did just that and pocketed the camera. Anko saw the book on the ground and picked it up. She knew what Ika was and knew every pervert had one. She was curious as to what was in it. She decided to keep it for a while and see what all the fuss was about. Jacken looked at the down Kakashi. It seems lame just to keep him like this. Jacken said. Oh, we're now done yet. Get his legs, I have a place to take him, Naruto said. Kakashi groaned and sat up. He wondered what hit him and placed his hand to his forehead. He looked down to see that he was shirtless, and was very confused about why that was. He looked forward to see several grinning women and a grinning Team Anko with Naruto holding his mask. That's when he saw the banner, the Hotake Kakashi fan club. Have fun, Kakashi, Anko said and left with her team. Kakashi saw that the women locked the door and windows. He just sighed in annoyance as the women pounced on him. Shikamaru was looking at clouds near his house. He was a bit annoyed at the moment as his mother lectured him about being serious now that he was a genin. He just sighed, muttered Mendokase how troublesome, and left the house. After a while of cloud watching, he decided to go to check on the deer. As he began to stand, he heard the sound of several deer running. He waited, and the deer came running out and headed into the village. He noticed that there were 4 people riding the deer. The young genin looked at the situation and walked into the house. Minutes later, he and his father were running out of the house. They both ducked a frying pan that was launched at them. The deer caused a lot of trouble as they stampeded through the village. People jumped out of the way, some had their stuff destroyed. Members of the Nara clan and Anbu chased the deer. However, this was just a distraction as the team of pranksters were about to launch their attack against the village's elite. They were about to prank some members of the Ansatsu Senjutsu Tokushu Butai, Special Assassination and Tactical Squad. Anbu Team Falcon was on guard duty for Elder Koharu. They surrounded the elder as they walked the path to the village entrance. They were returning from a neighboring village that the elder was visiting. They arrived to see several members of the Nara clan trying to rein in their deer. They were curious about what was going on. They entered the village only to be doused with an olive-colored liquid. They were confused and worried that they were hit with a poison that soaked into the skin when the leader, a purple-haired woman, smelt something familiar. Where have I smelt this before? She took another sniff and narrowed her eyes. This smells like, oh no. She thought and looked to see her uniform begin to dissolve. The other members of the team and Elder Koharu's clothes also were dissolving. Their clothes fell off and they were suddenly naked. Members of the Anbu and Nara clan were looking at the ground with wide eyes. They attempted to cover themselves as best they could. The woman was red with anger and embarrassment. Anko! She roared. Ibiki entered his office to get something that he had forgotten. As he entered, he heard something fizzing. He looked around for the sound. He found the sound, but wished that he hadn't, the fuse was already to the end. He quickly did a substitution as his office was showered with paint. He re-entered his office to see the mess that was made to his office. The paint was all over his papers and documents. He was red with rage until an paint-covered subordinate came to him. Sir, Anko and her brats has set paint bombs all over the building. Our files are in ruins. The woman said. That's when an Anbu member appeared. Their mask and armor was covered in red, yellow and blue paint. Where is she, Ibiki? Your friend's little brat has gone too damn far. 3 of our bases were hit paint bombs. The commander shouted. Ibiki was now white with fury. He went to gather several men for an old-fashioned witch hunt. Team Anko stood on the roof that was 3 roofs away from the Hyuga clan. They had some pink-colored paint with them. This has been the best night of my life. I hope it never ends, Anko said with a drunken slur. Sorry to say, Anko, but it will have to end, a voice said. They team turned to see Hiruzen standing behind them. It's the old man Scatter, Naruto exclaimed. They only got one step before each of them was tackled by several jonin and shoyunin. Hiruzen couldn't wait to hear this. Hiruzen listened as Koharu ranted loudly against the actions of Team Anko. She was full-dressed again and irate. He spared glances at Team Anko who were giggling and snorting at the enraged woman. She wasn't the only one. Three enemy commanders and Ibiki were angry and Team Falcon had to be restrained from killing Anko. He could tell that they were drunk, but he had to confirm how drunk they were and why Naruto, Yakumo and Jacken were drunk. There was a knock on the door. He called out for them to enter and in came Kakashi with the shop owner. Anko saw him and gave him a drunken grin. "Hey there stud, still what to have a little fun?" she asked. Kakashi glared at her before facing the Hokage. "Hokage-sama, this man has something to say," Kakashi said. Hiruzen gave his attention to the man. "Hokage-sama, Miss Anko brought her team to my restaurant and ordered sake. We were not aware she was giving it to her students. By the time we realized it, they had drank 10 bottles worth of sake," the owner said. Hiruzen then looked at Anko. "Okay, I was playing a little prank on my students. I just wanted to see their drunk faces. In my defense, it was Naruto's idea to prank the village," Anko said happily. "Thanks for selling me out, you bitch," Naruto slurred. Hiruzen just sighed as Koharu went into another rant. This time it was at Anko, who just smiled at her. "Hey, I don't feel so good," Yakumo said before she threw up. The rest of the team looked at her with concern. Naruto just had one thing to ask. "Did you eat out of my bowl of ramen?" Hiruzen pinched the bridge of his nose. He was just too old for this shit. Chapter 23, Team Anko's Vacation Part 2. Naruto sat across from his sensei in her apartment. His clones gently placed her on the couch. She was against going to the hospital and told him to get her friend Hana. He sat and waited with Anko's other friend, Yugao. He wasn't too sure about her, as it was clear that she was still pissed about their pranks 3 days ago. Yugao saw his concern and decided to put his mind at ease. "You don't have to worry. I've forgiven you, your comrades and your sensei. Just don't drink anymore," she said. "You don't have to worry. We've all agreed to never drink again," he told her. "Spoil sport," Anko muttered. There was a knock at the door. Yugao answered it, and Hana entered the apartment. She looked at her friend and smirked. She then looked at Yugao. "Kind of rough, don't you think?" Hana asked. "It pales in comparison to what she deserves," Yugao said. "Man, I can't believe Jacken and Yakumo are out of the village. They would give anything to see her like this," Naruto joked. "Laugh it up, but when we meet up after our vacation, you and the other two are mine," Anko threatened. Hana just smirked and began to wrap bandages on Anko's arms. "There are not that many bruises this time. You must be getting the hang of the Ha-Yoshikyo Odori dancing leaf style," Hana commented. "I chose a style that would suit her. She'll get the basic, but she's a far cry from being a master," Yugao commented. Hana also noticed that Anko's hair was a little damp. "Did you get wet?" Hana asked. "That bastard Kakashi, I bet he's telling everyone and having a good laugh at my expense. To think, I gave him back his book without finishing it," Anko ranted. Hana looked confused, so Naruto decided to elaborate. Kakashi was teaching her a Suton water release jutsu. For some reason, she froze up, and Kakashi hit her with this huge wave of rushing water. Naruto said. "It sounds just like what he did when he was teaching you the Shinju Zanchu no Jutsu double suicide decapitation technique. You know, this might be his way of telling you that he's interested in you," Hana commented. "You think so?" Anko asked with surprise. "Come on, Kakashi-senpai isn't a child," Yugao said. Naruto didn't comment, as he knew Kakashi. While he was a cool ninja, he was a pervert, and a very open one. He probably was attracted to Anko for whatever reason. He would never understand how adults thought. Yakumo made her way to the location where one of her clansmen told her to go. Her uncle, Unkai, wished to speak to her. She was a bit worried, as her uncle was always concerned of the Ino locked away in her. Even when they were training, he always took extra precautions. She was curious as to what he wanted. It must be important to do this while they were on vacation. She found him meditating near a creek. She approached and sat next to him. You wished to see me, uncle? Yakumo asked. Yes, Unkai said and turned to face her. Let me say this first, I apologize for my behavior. I know that I have made you uncomfortable with my training. It is all right, uncle. I know that you are worried about the Ito as it nearly killed mother and father. You care for the clan's well-being. Yakumo replied. I am glad to hear that. Now for the reason I ask for you to meet with me. I want to tell you that your training will take a more intense turn when we return to Konoha. He said. May I ask why? She asked. You are 16 now. It is time for you to learn the ways of the clans. You must improve mentally, physically, and politically for when you take over the clan. It is your duty as the heiress. Unkai explained. Yakumo nodded as she knew this to be true. Her father, who was the current head of the clan, was not going to be so for long. He was not a shinobi and he was just holding the position of head until she was ready. So what will this training consist of? Yakumo asked. Your father will show you the inner workings of the clan. Together you and I will further your mental abilities and gain more control over the Ito. He said. What about my place on Team Anko? She asked with concern. We have already spoken to Anko. She is okay with allowing you to learn these things. You will still be with them as she will help you physically. She actually welcomed my help with your mental training so that you can further your skills in Genjutsu. She seemed quite adamant about that. Unkai said with a knowing smile. She told you about that? Yakumo exclaimed. I don't care what she wants, but that was the only time I'm doing that. Yakumo exclaimed. Unkai laughed as his niece pouted. The wild boar kept its nose to the ground, sniffing around for food. It was blissfully unaware of the two waiting for it to pass. Once it was in their view, the two quickly pounced on the boar. They drove their kunai in 2 vital points, killing it instantly. The elder of the two lifted the boar onto his shoulder. The teenager followed him back to the campsite. The man turned toward the teen. So, what's the deal with you, and what's her name? Tenten? Right. The man asked. There's nothing between us. She doesn't like me and I find her mildly entertaining. Jacken explained. It sounds to me that you're attracted to her. You are 16 after all. You should start looking at attractive girls. He told him. Whatever. Jacken muttered. The two reached their campsite and dropped the dead boar. Jacken then faced the man. You know, I wasn't expecting you to look so young, old man. I'm only 27. He said. So what's your real name? I feel silly calling you by your code name. Jacken said. Yashitsune, and that's all you're getting. Yashitsune spoke. How are you enjoying the trip? It's cool to get out of the village for a while. Besides, the pipsqueak is busy with the Sandaime and the ghost is with her family in Kuni land of hot water. You're really gotten attached to them. Well, they aren't as bad as I thought. We've been through a lot together, and we also know each other's secrets. Jacken explained. So you know about Naruto's burden? Yashitsune asked. He told us when he turned 13. I find it kind of retarded that he was treated like that. True, I did try to kill him, but I never knew why. He's keeping the Kyuubi at bay. We should be kissing his ass. People fear what they don't understand, Jacken. Not everyone thinks the way you do. It's a good thing that you don't see things like them. Yashitsune ruffled his hair, which annoyed him. Alright, if we want to eat some meat, you need to get skinning. Jacken mumbled something before pulling out a kunai and walking toward the boar. Naruto made his way to where he knew Drea would be. He enjoyed his time with his former sensei. He learned a great deal of things from Sarutobi sensei. He mostly showed him how to combine jutsus with the Kage Bunshin, Shadow Clone. He also learned a new staff kata. It was a good week. Now, he was searching for his other sensei. The old man told him that he was back in the village. He made his way to the one place in Konoha that he could be. Like he thought, the pervert was spying on the females again. Naruto couldn't believe that this guy was one of the Densetsu no Sannin legendary 3 ninja. Deciding that he had enough fun, Naruto made his move. He threw a rock with a note attached to it over the fence of the ladies' side of the baths. Minutes later, Drea cried out and furiously rubbed his eye. Naruto smirked and walked up to him. "Yo, Ero Sennin, pervy sage, does that soap burn?" Naruto asked. Drea glared at the smug blonde. Drea took Naruto to a location where no one would feel him use the Kyuubi's chakra. He looked at Naruto, who was waiting for him. "Alright, Sensei told me about your request. I'm glad that you're thinking about it. The Yondaime didn't do things without a reason. I believe that he wanted you to master its chakra." Drea explained. "Okay, so how are we going to do that?" Naruto asked. "Well, we're going to have you meet with the Kyuubi. I want you to get him to allow you access to more of his chakra. You'll need it if you're going to summon one of the giant toads." Drea explained. "So, do you want me to start meditating?" Naruto asked with a bored expression. "We could, but I have a faster way," Drea said. He touched Naruto's forehead, and he was sent flying. His momentum stopped, and he was over a large ravine. Naruto began to plummet toward the bottom. Drea looked down into the black abyss. "Forgive me, Naruto, Minato. This is the only way." Meanwhile, Naruto was trying to find a way out of this. He tried using his chakra, but the sides were too slippery. He kept falling and the feeling of death consumed him. "I'm really going to die," he realized. That's when everything got white. Naruto found himself in a sewer. He was wondering if this was the afterlife, until he felt a huge chakra. He followed it until he came upon 2 huge gates. They were held closed by a small paper tag. That's when 2 red eyes and fangs appeared. "Welcome, my jailer. We finally meet face to face," the deep voice said. "That voice, so it was you," Naruto said. "I'm so glad that you remember. So, you have come before me to gain more access to my chakra. Tell me, boy, why should I? I will gain my freedom once you die," the Kyuubi said. "You and I both know that is false. I've researched my seal with Sarutobi sensei, and your life is connected with mine. The only way that you will get free is if I release you," Naruto stated. "You have certainly grown since that night. It is good to speak with someone so intelligent." Naruto was instantly on edge. "What are you up to? I know that you do not enjoy being sealed within me. Why are you acting so civil with me?" "My reasons are my own, boy. I do not have to explain them. Consider it a gift that I have not asked you to come closer so that my claws can rip you asunder," the Kyuubi said. That's when the ground beneath Naruto glowed red. It ensnared him and squeezed. Naruto struggled to free himself, but he could not. "Do not worry. It is as you said, when you die, I will die. I am not ready yet. This is my gift to you so that you may complete your task. Remember this feeling when you summon it. We will meet again." Naruto's eyes shot open. Feeling the rush of chakra, Naruto quickly did the seals for the Kuchiyos no Jutsu summoning technique. A huge cloud of smoke appeared, and Naruto saw his salvation. Above, Drea saw that Naruto had indeed succeeded in getting more chakra from the Kyuubi. That suddenly changed when he heard a familiar voice. Not wanting to be around for when he jumped out of there, Drea hightailed it out of there. After a minute or two, a huge red toad appeared with Naruto riding its back. The force of the landing shook the area and could be felt all the way to Konoha. The toad lowered its head to allow Naruto to jump off. The two searched the area, but they could find no trace of Drea. "Ero Sennin must have booked it," Naruto growled. "Agreed, I will punish him later then," the toad said. Naruto faced the large toad. "Thank you for the assistance, Gamabunta-san," he said. "It was not problem, Naruto. My sons and many others have spoken good of you. If you will excuse me, it has been a while since I've been released into the world. I will enjoy it before I return. Gamabunta said and went in a random direction. Naruto wished him well, and was about to leave when several shogunin appeared. One of them was Uruka. Hey Uruka-sensei, it's been a while. Naruto greeted. That it has. Naruto, was that Gamabunta? Uruka asked. Yeah, I just learned how to summon him. The toads are kick-ass. He exclaimed. Uruka could only look at him in shock and in wonder. What had he and his teammates been up to? Jiraiya stood in front of Hiruzen, Homura and Koharu. They did not look pleased with him. Jiraiya just looked at them without worry. How could you be so reckless? That had to be the most stupid thing you have done. Koharu snapped. Did you even think of the consequences of that stunt? You are lucky that the boy managed to summon Gamabunta to save him. Homura added hotly. You were out of line, Jiraiya, and I am very disappointed with you, judgment. Hiruzen finished it off. Oh come on, I wouldn't have let the kid die. He needs to learn how to use the Kyuubi's chakra sooner or later. I'm just glad that he is taking it seriously enough to try. Jiraiya said. There had to be a better way, Jiraiya. Throwing him down a ravine was not the right way. Hiruzen shouted. Now, Naruto will have to be extra cautious when he faces the Kyuubi within his mind. It'll teach the kid about who to trust and who not to trust. Jiraiya said jokingly. I see that you will not take this seriously. Homura said with a tone. I am taking it seriously. He has more access to the Kyuubi. It is a win-win. Now if you will excuse me, I have some research to do. Jiraiya said and made his way to the door. He opened it only to get struck in the face. As his hands covered his face, he was kicked in the gut. He fell to the ground in pain. He caught a glimpse of a very angry Anko before she began to wail on him. Throw my punch, subordinate, punch to his death, punch. I'll stomp, show you, stomp what I do, stomp to people, stomp who attack, punch my kids, elbow drop. Anko ranted. The beating continued for a good while in the presence of the Hokage and elders. They did nothing and held off the Anbu. They couldn't have thought of a better punishment. Chapter 24, Team Anko's Vacation Part 3. Naruto and Jacken walked onto the training grounds of Team Guy. Jacken was not happy about this as Naruto warned him about starting any arguments. He wasn't concerned about Tenten, but he was more concerned about the reason they were here for. It didn't make sense giving their crazy sensei a weapon to torture them with. He didn't care how good she was. They walked up to see Lee shadow boxing, Tenten hitting some targets and Neji working on his Byakugan. He was the one who alerted the team to their presence. Jack and Naruto, what brings your youthful selves here today? Lee asked with excitement. Are you always this excited? Jacken asked. Before an answer could be given, Naruto cut in. We're actually here to see Tenten. We were wondering if you could show us your sword collection. Naruto said. Tenten didn't mind and pulled out a scroll. She unrolled it and smeared her blood over the symbols. Dozens of swords popped out and stood up on the ground. May I ask why you wanted to see them? Tenten asked. Our blonde pipsqueak wants to give our psychotic sensei a sword since she has taken up the blade. Jacken said. Look, I know that it's a crazy idea. A very crazy idea, Jacken muttered. Still, she's getting real good. Maybe she would be appreciative of the gesture and lay off on us. Naruto said. Jacken gave him a look. Just shut up and look at her collection. The two observed the swords in front of them. They didn't see anything that screamed Anko. Suddenly Jacken looked at a blade. He picked it up and watched as the blade wobbled a little. What about this sword? Jacken asked. Naruto looked to see the blade, and was nodding at it. It said Anko all right. Naruto said. He then looked at Tenten. What's this sword called? I think it's called a jong. The blade is very thin, but sharp. It also bends so you can catch opponents around corners. It isn't too big around here. It's made mostly toward the east, somewhere beyond Mizu no Kuni land of water. I know someone within the village who can make one like it. That'll be great. Thanks a lot, Tenten. Naruto said. At least she's good at something. Jacken muttered. It wasn't low enough, because Tenten looked in his direction. You got something to say? She asked with a hard tone. Here we go. Naruto grumbled before getting out of the way. What? I was just saying that your knowledge of weapons is an asset to the village. Jacken said with a smirk. Don't play dumb, you son of a bitch. Cammy, you're such a baby just because I'm better than you. Tenten exclaimed. Ha, you ain't shit. I was out of the academy for over a year, and I caught up to you in a matter of months. The only thing you can do with weapons is throw them in bulk and pray that it hits something. Jacken countered. You know what? I have half a mind to shove a kunai right up your ass. Tenten scowled. I'll like to see you try, you stuck-up bitch. Jacken snarled. The two continued to argue while Neji, Lee and Naruto watched with interest. No one was stupid enough to get in between the two when they were like that. Lee could easily testify to that. When it looked like it was getting heated, Naruto had enough. Kochiyos no Jutsu, summoning technique? Naruto shouted. Jacken suddenly found himself on the ground, with something heavy on top of him. Tenten was in the same situation, being held in the air by the toad's tongue. What are you doing? Pipsqueak. Jacken gasped out. Let me go, Naruto. Tenten shouted. Look, I think you two need to chill out. Obviously, this will not be solved by you two trying to wring each other's necks. So what I'm suggesting is a throwdown. We'll set up an obstacle where there will be several targets. We'll tally up the score and the winner will be king or queen of weapons. Are you two in agreement? Naruto asked. Fine, they both said. Naruto patted Gamma, who released Tenten and got off Jacken. The throwdown will happen in 3 days. Naruto said. They nodded, and the two members of Team Anko left the training ground. 2 days later, Jacken and Tenten were warming up. Naruto and Lee were packing several shuriken holsters for the two of them. Urka, Anko, Guy and a few others were also in attendance. Urka had helped Naruto set up the course and the rules of the contest. Urka then faced the two contestants. Okay, the rules are simple. Each one of you will run through the course once. There will be some still targets and moving targets. Each target has numbers on it, so that will be points toward your final score. The one with the most points will be king or queen of weapons. Do you understand? Urka asked. Both of them nodded, and were handed the belt with pouches on it. Okay, Tenten is up first. Hope you choke. Jacken said. Bite me, bitch. Tenten said and readied herself to go. She stood and prepared to run. Go. Urka said, and Tenten took off. She quickly threw 3 shuriken at the post, all hitting the targets. She threw another 3, which hit 3 more targets. She hit a few more non-moving targets before tripping a wire. 5 discs flew into the air, with bull eyes on them. Tenten quickly hit them out of the air and continued on. As she ran, she launched various shuriken at moving and non-moving targets, each one as difficult as the next. The final part of the course was very hard as Tenten had to be very careful not to hit innocents. She got past that part and hit the button, signaling the end of her run. She was breathing hard and was handed some water. Urka and 2 others helped tally up her score. They were very impressed with how well she did. They cleared up the course and next up was Jacken. He stood at the starting line. Go. Jacken took off like a shot. He pulled out some shuriken and launched them like a rapid-firing machine. He tripped the wire and the disc flew up. He quickly shot them down and continued on his way. When he ran out of shuriken out of the palm of his hand, it took him some time to grab a few more. He was still hitting the targets, but he had to slow down some. The final part, Jacken careful launched his weapons at the ones who were the enemy. He could see that they were all kill shots. He hit the button and dropped to his knees. That was a hard run to do. Naruto handed him a bottle of water, while the judges checked out the targets. They tallied up their scores and faced the two competitors. Okay then Tenten, your score was perfect 3,000 points. Jacken, your score was 2,995. You were off by 2 degrees on one of the flying disc. Urka said. Jacken groaned while Tenten cheered. The two faced each other and Jacken sighed. He stuck his hand out. I'll admit, you're the queen of weapons. Jacken grumbled. How about we both say that we're both rulers? You only lost by 2 degrees. Tenten said. I can live with that. Jacken said with a smile. The two shook hands and buried the hatchet. "AW, that's so sweet. Why don't you two kiss also?" Anko commented. That earned her a glare from Jacken. Everyone laughed and walked off the academy grounds. As they walked, Jacken could help but stare at Tenten's back. The sweat traveled down to her lower back and backside. The pants seemed to cling to her. He saw that she did have a nice butt for a 14-year-old. So focused, he did not realize that Anko had caught him. She leaned next to his ear with a smirk. That's a tight little rear on her, huh? Is that how you like them? Don't be shy, you can tell Auntie Anko. Anko joked. Jacken went red and turned his head away. Tenten refused the turn around mostly because she was red in her cheeks. The bookstore owner sat behind the counter and read a book. It was the afternoon, so business was kind of slow. He heard someone drop something on the counter. He looked to see that it his bestseller, Ika Ika. He saw that it was the first book of the series. When he looked up, he was very surprised to see a woman. Her purple hair was down, and she was wearing sunglasses, a tan-colored trench coat that covered a white blouse and maroon skirt. The owner stood up and faced her. You don't see many women looking for this book. The owner said. I'm not as prudish as those women. It is actually a good book. She said. That it is. He took her money and packaged her purchase. Enjoy your book. He said. Don't worry, I will. She said and quickly left the store. In her hurry, she bumped into someone and dropped her book. She was about to shout at the person when she froze up at who she saw. It was Kakashi. The one-eyed masked man gave her a surprised look. Is that you, Anko? Kakashi asked. Anko? Who is this Anko that you speak of? Anko said. Kakashi just kept looking at her. It was much different appearance than what he was used to. It made her look cute in a way. Anko was a bit uncomfortable with how he was looking at her. She quickly grabbed her bag and began to walk away. Aren't you forgetting something, Anko? Kakashi said. She looked out of the corner of her eye and saw that Kakashi had her book. I didn't know that you found this interesting. It's a pretty good read. I can tell you some stuff about it. There's a tea shop nearby. I'll buy you some dango. Anko was surprised. Was Kakashi asking her out? She quickly banished that idea. It was just a talk between two people who had a similar interest. Sure. Why not? But I don't want to know everything. Just give me a broad view of the book. She told him. Kakashi nodded and the two headed for the tea shop. That's when Anko realized something. Say, aren't the Jonin sensei giving their exams today? Is that today? Oh well, this won't take long and you're getting dango for free. Kakashi explained. Good point, there to the tea shop. Anko said. It would be 2 hours of talking before Kakashi left to test his students. Naruto roared as he attempted to do this new jutsu. The objective of the exercise was to blow the rubber ball apart. It was an exercise that Drea gave him as an apology for what he did. He called the new jutsu the Rasengan, spiraling sphere. The attack needed no hand seals, which was pretty cool. The first part of learning the Rasengan was for Naruto to pop a balloon filled with water. Naruto saw how Jiraiya did it, was very excited to learn the jutsu. It took Naruto a full week and a half to burst the water balloon. It was very hard for him to burst. While he was trying to figure out why the balloon wouldn't pop, Tora came along. The daimyo wife's cat was actually a friend of the team now. Tora batted around the ball for a while before it popped. It was in that instant that he remembered that the water balloon was all bumpy when Jiraiya demonstrated the first exercise. He thanked Tora by keeping him hidden for a week. He practiced it, but couldn't make the water swirl in different directions. He decided to use Tora's method, and he easily popped the balloon. He did it a few more times and nailed it. He showed it to Jiraiya, who was mildly impressed. He then gave him a rubber ball and left. Naruto figured that this was about power rather than rotation. Try as he might, he couldn't push enough chakra to blow the ball apart. He decided to rest as his arm began to sting a little. Suddenly something landed on his head. It jumped off and landed in front of him. He was surprised to see that it was Kosuke. What the? Kosuke, where did you come from? I didn't summon you. Naruto asked. We have a special portal here called the Inshinsui, distant body water. It allows us to travel from home to Konoha. Kosuke said. Anyway, I came to let you in on something. It's about that girl you wanted me to get info on. Midoshi, you got some stuff on Midoshi? Naruto asked. Yeah, and it wasn't easy. I almost got caught a couple of times by the snakes. This girl is something else, Naruto. She's definitely skilled in the arts, and has now added the sword to her arsenal. She's also the only human that Manda likes. He doesn't like anybody. He's actually asking his subordinates to find out more about you since she seems to have an interest in you. Oh, and he wants to eat you for putting a bruise on her. Kosuke said. Gee, thanks for that. Naruto said sarcastically. Also, she has been raised by the Snake Clan since birth. I found out that she was born in a village that was near the secret entrance to the land of snakes. Manda used to have sacrifices given to him from this village. The village has a few people there, so I gave Jiraiya the heads up. Thanks, Kosuke. Now I can really focus on my training. Naruto said. Kosuke nodded and hopped away. Naruto stood and returned to his training. Midoshi sighed in boredom as Orochimaru went on and on about his invasion plans. Why she was here, she'll never know. She had only one objective, and that objective was Naruto. She heard the sound of a rattle and turned to see a small brown rattlesnake. She walked out of the room, following the snake and ignoring Orochimaru's mouth. As she walked down the corridor, the rattlesnake slithered up to her shoulder. Moe, how is your father doing? Midoshi asked. He is fine. His burns have healed up nicely. I have brought the information that you asked about. Moe said. Oh yes, did you have any trouble? She asked. A little, but it was not too difficult. The toads hold this Naruto in high regard. Yamabunta speaks highly of him. He is also the student of their current summoner Jiraiya. He reported. Is there anything else? Midoshi asked. He has an SSSS rank secret surrounding him. It's this secret that made the monkey summoner train him personally. His skills have increased as well. Moe said. Midoshi smiled deviously at the information she received. Thank you, Mao, you have done very well. Do not tell Uncle Mando about this. You know how overprotective he can be. The rattlesnake nodded, and the two continued on their way down the corridor. Chapter 25, Team Anko's Vacation, Final Part. Naruto decided that he would spend his last days hanging out and causing mayhem. He also decided to get his protege in on the fun. He was to be his successor after all. It wasn't too hard to get him out of class. As the two gathered supplies, Naruto noticed something that made him laugh. He told Konohamaru to wait for him while he went to observe the funny scene. He watched as a pink-haired girl chased his pal Tora. The cat easily kept out of reach of her as she ran for her life. Naruto saw two boys waiting to use a nest against the feline. When it got close, they raised the net. Tora easily shredded through to net and kept on running. Naruto just kept smiling as the teen was frustrated and angry. You know, you could have helped my team, Naruto. Naruto turned to see Kakashi standing there. What makes you think that I could help? Naruto asked with a smirk. It's a well-known fact that Tora seems to like you, your teammates, and your sensei. Kakashi said. While true, why deprive your team of their mission? Besides, I still have a week left of vacation. I'm not going to help you or your team. Naruto said. It was worth a shot. They both heard a female scream. Well, I guess that means they've caught her. I'll see you around, Naruto. Kakashi left Naruto alone. The blonde returned to Konohamaru and to his prank. Naruto and Konohamaru were hiding out in a training field that was near the Hokage monument. They had just pulled off their prank on members of the Yamanaka clan. They managed to get away clean but was later chased by Uruka and several other shogunin. Naruto gave them the slip by unleashing a number of shadow clones. Once it was safe, Naruto took him to his training grounds. At the training grounds, Konohamaru was rubbing his head while Naruto laughed at him. It's not funny. Konohamaru exclaimed. Yes, it is. Naruto laughed. He calmed himself enough to give Konohamaru his attention. Haven't you been practicing like the old man has been telling you? Yeah, Konohamaru said. Naruto didn't look like he was buying it. Okay, maybe I haven't been practicing. But it's so boring doing it over and over again. That may be true, but it helps. Now come on for the rest of the week. I'm going to be teaching this staff form until you can do it in your sleep. We can't have my successor hitting himself over the head when he goes into battle. Naruto joked. Konohamaru just grumbled and got into the stance. The two began to do the staff form until the sun began to set. Tenten was enjoying her vacation. She had a month off, and she was going to enjoy it away from Guy and Lee. As she was on her way to buy some new weapons, she saw something that made her pause. It was Jacken. He was sitting at a table, and he looked very frustrated. She could see that he was glaring at a notepad. She was curious and made her way over to him. She saw that Jacken did not notice her presence. She carefully leaned in until she was near his ear. What are you doing? She exclaimed, causing Jacken to fall out of his chair. He glared at Tenten, who was laughing her ass off. Are you amused now? Do you feel better now that it's out of your system? Jacken growled. I'm sorry, but it was too good to pass up. Tenten said while laughing. She helped him up, and the two were now sitting across from each other. Jacken took notice to her change of clothes. You really like those type of clothes, huh? Jacken said. What, they're comfortable. Tenten said. Anyway, what's up with you? It looks like you wanted to set that pad ablaze with your glare. Well, I got this letter from this person. She was this woman that we protected a while back. I don't know why she wrote me, but it was mostly to tell me what's up and how her life was. I don't want to be rude, so I'm trying to write a letter, but it's freaking impossible. I don't know what to say and I don't even know why I'm writing this. Jacken finished with a huff. Well, maybe you made an impression on her, and she just wants to know more about you. What does she do for a living? Tenten asked. She provides company to wealthy men. Jacken said. It was much nicer to say that than to call her a whore. Okay, Tenten said with a pause. Where's the letter she sent you? Jacken handed her the letter. She read it and smiled at what she read. Okay then, she just telling you what she's been up to and wonders if you're okay. Just tell her what you have been up to, and wish her the best, plain and simple. Here, I'll help you get started. Tenten said. She helped Jacken start the letter and stayed with him until he finished it. She helped him with some corrections, and stopped him from putting anything stupid in the letter. It was a pretty interesting day. Yakumo let out a very tired sigh as she was released by her father for today. As soon as her family returned from their vacation, she thrust herself into clan duties and her training. She couldn't believe what her father had to go through. She had to learn all the rules and regulations, how to work the finances, and so many other things. It was a very tiring thing to learn and remember. Her uncle Unkai was not easy to deal with either. With the fear out of the way, he pushed her harder than usual. He hit her with various genjutsu which she had to counter. He also increased her physical exercises as well. He taught her some new jutsu and how to wield a tanto. Her biggest accomplishment was to gain much more of the Ido's power. Whenever she used its power, she would get an image that was kind of ghostly. She groaned as she thought about her training for later today. Her uncle told her that they would be really going at it. She couldn't wait for this week to be over. She couldn't believe that she was missing Anko's training. She entered her room and grabbed her flute. She made her way to the garden where she usually played. She went to her favorite rock and sat on it. She composed herself and began to play. She enjoyed this time that she had to herself. She could relax and have no care in the world. She continued to play even as an audience started to gather. They always enjoyed her music, and she enjoyed playing her music for them. She continued to play, forgetting about clan business and training. It was sunny out and Anko decided to enjoy the sun. Dressed in a red, two-piece bikini, she made her way to the roof of her apartment building. She unfolded her chair, placed a small cooler to the right, and held her copy of Ika Ika. She sat down and began to place on some sun lotion. No need to be ruining her amazing bod. After Maid saw that everything was finally covered, she placed on her shades, and began to read her book. As she read, she wondered what her little brats were doing. She knew that her vacation was almost up, so she decided to check on them. She found Naruto with the Sandaime's grandson, refining their staff techniques. She found Jacken walking toward the gate. He had met up with a courier and handed him a letter. She visited Yakumo at her clan's home where she was in an intense genjutsu spar with her uncle. The flowing hair and glowing aura thing she was doing was so awesome. She was glad that they were increasing their skills and not slacking off. She wasn't slacking either as she spent most of her vacation working with Yugao and Kakashi. She now had 5 new jutsu, and she was coming along with her kenjutsu. Her kids would be in for a surprise when they met again. She couldn't wait to use that other jutsu Kakashi showed her. Speaking of the one-eyed pervert, Anko had him on her brain as of late and was starting to worry. Sure, without his mask, Kakashi was a total fox. They had a few things in common, like Ika Ika and annoying their students. They hung out some aside from training. It bothered her because she was never that close to other men. They always wanted the same thing from her. She allowed to get what they wanted. They turned out to be real disappointments. Still, Kakashi was different. He was a horned dog, but when they talked, he gave her his attention. Granted, they only really talked about favorite book, but he still gave her his attention. There was even a time that she pleasured herself thinking about Kakashi. She quickly banished those thoughts. She was Mitarashi Anko. There wasn't a man in the village that could tame her. She suddenly heard what sounded like a flesh-against-flesh collision. She looked from her book to see 2 men fall to the ground below. She just grinned and went back to her book. The week was over and so was Team Anko's vacation. Each member of the team was waking up and preparing for today's team meeting. They each left their respective homes and made their way to Training Ground 44. They all arrived and stood at attention. Anko faced her group with a smile. Well, my little brats, I hope that you are well rested. Now that we're back together, the fun can resume. Anko said. Before we get into that, the pipsqueak has something to give you. Jacken said and pushed Naruto forward. Anko noticed that Yakumo and Jacken looked very uncomfortable. She saw that Naruto had a case with him. Here, this is a present for us. I'm a bit reluctant to give it to you because of how you are, but I trust you to use this when things get important. Naruto said. Anko raised an eyebrow and took the case. She opened it and was very surprised. It was a beautiful sword and its sheath. She held the sword and did a couple of swings with it. Anko found that the sword was great and how the blade wobbled. It was perfect. She looked at the sword lovingly. I will call you Daku Venom, Anko said. She saw that her team was giving her a look. What? It's a pretty name. Anko placed the blade in its sheath and placed it back in the case. I cannot thank you guys enough for this. How about you let us do a mission instead of sparing? Jacken asked. Be happy, I'm not testing my new blade on any of you. Anko countered. She then gave them a serious look. Well then, you guys are supposed to be showing me what you have learned during your vacation. So demonstration time. Each of you are to come at me and show me what you've got. Bangs, you're first. Naruto stepped forward. He faced Anko, who stood waiting. Naruto took off at her. He quickly summoned 2 clones. He pulled out his staff and attacked. Anko dodged his attacks with a difficulty. This was a new staff form that he was using against her. She saw one of his clones come at her from her left. She saw that his hands were in the Mi Snake Seal. Doton Doria Taiga. Earth release, Earth flow river, the clone called out. The ground turned into mud and carried Anko away. She quickly regained her balance to hear the next 2 attacks. Doton Doriuden. Earth release, Earth dragon bullet, the first clone called out. Katon, Karyuden. Fire release, Fire dragon bullet, the second clone called out. The fire combined with the mud projectile. Anko quickly did some seals and slammed her hands on the ground. Doton Doriaki. Earth style, wall, Anko shouted. The earth rose like pillars and protected Anko from the fire barrage. She pulled out 2 shuriken that were attached to wires. She threw them both at the clones, wrapping both of them. Katon Ryuka no Jutsu. Fire release, dragon fire technique. She was surrounded by fire, which then shot forward and crashed into the 2 clones. Once the fire died down, Anko was struck twice in the back of her knees. Naruto threw a hard punch into her back. He was surprised that his fist got stuck. He watched as Anko turned into mud. Anko appeared behind him. You were so close. Anko said with a smile and brought entwined fist down on him. Anko was now the surprised one when Naruto turned into mud. A shadow fell over her. She looked up and cursed. A man-sized blue toad landed on her. Naruto looked below only to find mud. That's when things got weird. Senin Gorashi. 1,000 years of death, Anko shouted. Naruto was then violated and sent flying back toward his teammates and beyond. Yakumo and Jacken could not believe what their sensei just did. Anko was just laughing her ass off. Oh my god, that was so funny. Remind me to thank Kakashi for this technique. That's just wrong, man. I wouldn't wish that on my enemies. Jacken said. Poor Naruto, Yakumo said. Naruto rubbed his ass and glared bloody murder at his sensei. I swear to all that is holy, you and Kakashi will pay for this. He growled. I'm shaking in fear. Anko said with amusement. She then looked at him. You've did some interesting things there. I was a bit surprised that you knew the Doton Cage Bunshin Earth Release Shadow Clone, but the toad thing I heard from Urka. I'm glad that you've improved on your sneakiness as well. Did you not hear me? My ass will be avenged. Naruto shouted. Yeah, let's continue, shall we? Knuckles, let's see what you've been up to. Anko said. Jacken stepped forward. He pulled out his Kyuusarigama and readied himself to attack. Chapter 26 Meeting of the Jinchuriki. Anko smiled at Jacken, who looked eager to get started. Someone's eager, especially with what is about to happen to him when he loses. Anko said evilly. No chance in hell, you pervert. Jacken said and launched the ball end at Anko. Anko was surprised by the speed and got out of the way. The small metal ball punched through the tree. Jacken charged and brought the blade down on Anko. She pulled out a kunai and parried the attack. The two engaged in a brief blade battle before Jacken whipped the chain around. Anko was on her toes and dodged every whipping strike. She flipped onto the side of the tree and did some hand seals. Katan Gokakya no Jutsu. Fire release, great fireball technique, Anko called out and shot a medium-sized fireball at him. Jacken reared his arm back as he saw the ball of fire coming. Shinkuken. Vacuum sword, he called, and swung the sickle part in a quick wide arc. His version of the technique created a thin blade of air that could cut through most things. The blade of wind cut right through the fireball. When the fireball crashed on either side of him, he saw that Anko was gone. Remembering what just happened to his teammate, Jacken jumped into the air. He was lucky as Anko's hands was poking through the ground. He growled and threw an kunai at the hands. Anko quickly pulled her hands back into the ground. Jacken landed and began to whip his chain around. The chain formed into a star and Jacken began to chakra his chakra through the chain. He evened out his breathing and waited. His teammates were worried about him just standing there. Their worry was about to come true when Anko appeared behind Jacken. Senin. Anko began, but Jacken was smirking. Kinzoku-chen no Ketsugo. Metal chain binding, Jacken called out. The chain instant ensnared Anko, who was very shocked. Using his strength, he flung Anko into a tree. He quickly did a few seals. Reitan Kankia. Lightning release, wave of inspiration. The wave of lightning traveled through the metal chain and hit Anko. She screamed out and slumped over. Jacken cheered for his victory, but it was very short-lived when Anko hardened and broke apart. Senin Gorashi. Anko called out and hit Jacken in the rectum. It sent the teen flying through the air and into the top of the trees. She looked at the tangled boy and smiled to herself. I do believe that's a record for me. That's got to be 50 feet up in the air. Anko commented. I swear upon everything that is holy, I will get you for this. Jacken growled. Love you too. And now there was one. Let's see what the ghost has in store. Anko said with a smile. Yakumo gulped, but she wasn't about to back down. She decided to go full out and end this quickly. Anko watched as she tapped into the Ido's power. Anko thought she looked very cool with her hair waving in the air. Magen Mujutsu. Demonic illusion, moonless sky, she called out. The area suddenly got dark, and no light was coming through. Anko was amazed that she made a jutsu just like the Naruto second Hokage. You guys don't move. If you do, then they will attack you as well. Yakumo said. She did a few more hand seals and slammed her hands to the ground. Genjutsu Kuchiyos, Oni Keijo Kami. Illusionary technique summoning, demon shadow wolves. Anko watched as several pitch-black wolves appear. They were drooling and snarling at her. With a mental command, the wolves charged at Anko. Anko met the wolves head-on. She dodged the first two and split the other in two. She turned and was surprised to see the wolf reform. That won't work, sensei. Yakumo called out. Anko didn't listen and did some hand seals. Suton Mizurappa. Water release, violent water wave, Anko called out and spat out a large volume of water. The wolves were swept up by the attack, but the wolves suddenly disappeared into the shadows. Anko had to use the Shunshin body flicker to escape the attack from below. This is getting a bit out of hand. I think that I'll just end this little spar. Anko said and threw something into the air. It exploded, and a bright light surrounded the area. It dispelled the genjutsu and the wolves. Yakumo was blinded and released her hold on the Ito. That's when she felt two fingers go into her butt. She screamed and quickly got away from her grinning sensei. Damn it, sensei, it's not funny. Yakumo roared. Oh come on, where is your sense of humor? In fact, Anko said and turned toward Naruto. You should be okay with this, Mr. Prank Master. Sexual assault is not a joke. Naruto grumbled. Anko just smirked at him. After her team lined up in front of her, Anko faced her team seriously. I am very happy with the improvement. With all the new techniques and tactics, we will work through some team exercises and have some fun missions that we will take on. We will even mess with the rookies a bit. So, let's get back to work. Anko cheered. Hi sensei. They shouted. Team Anko was on its way back from a border patrol mission. It was a punishment for the team after the genin got their revenge for what happened a month ago. It was pretty funny, and Anko was still attempting to get those photos back from Yugao and Kurena. Anko went a little too far, chasing her team through the village on her pet summons. Either way, Hiruzen thought it would be better for the village and himself that they were out of the village. Anko looked at her students and smiled. They had gotten back to their current level of teamwork fairly quickly. They had a few new formations, and she even taught them the Kanashibarai no Jutsu temporary paralysis technique in order to catch their victims. They managed to do D ranks with ease and were pushing her still in training. She knew that this Chunin exam's coming, her team would be ready and would destroy the competition. As they made their way back to Konoha, Naruto suddenly felt that something was wrong. He called for a stop and looked toward the northeast. Anko appeared next to him. What is it, Gaki brat? Anko asked. I don't know. I feel that there is something off coming from that direction. There are a lot of killing intent. Naruto explained. Anko turned toward where he was looking and had to admit that there was the faint feeling of death. That's in the direction of the border that connects Kei's no Kuni land of wind and Hai no Kuni land of fire, Anko muttered. She looked at her team. Okay, we'll check this out. Weapons out, full stealth. I don't want whatever this feeling is to get the drop on us. They nodded and made their way toward the border. A bloody bandit was running. He was missing an arm and was dripping blood. He had to get over the border. Once he was over the border, that monster could not get him. It may have been cowardly to leave his mates to die, but there was no honor among thieves. He was not going to die. He made it across the border and let out a sigh of relief. He was finally safe. That's when he was encased in sand. He frantic tried to get the sand off, but it quickly crept up on him. That's when he saw the dead-looking eyes of the beast. He was going to die, and there was nothing he could do. The monster's sand suddenly raised up to protect him from a barrage of kunai and shuriken. The bandit was suddenly pulled to safe by a younger teenage girl. He watched as the two boys attacked the red-haired boy. Run. Run away. Run away, or that monster will kill you. The man shouted before he passed out. Naruto and Jacken heard him, but could no longer retreat as the red-haired ninja attacked. They countered, but could not get past the sand. Naruto looked to Jacken and gave him a nod. He then crossed his fingers. Kage Bunshin no Jutsu. Shadow clone technique, Naruto called out. 3 dozen clones appeared and attacked. The red-haired ninja did not move and lashed out with his sand. He was getting annoyed as the clones were getting difficult to hit. It didn't help matters that his teammate kept launching blades of wind. The shinobi was then suddenly dragged underground. Anko appeared out of the ground and flipped back. Once she was out of the way, Naruto placed his hand in a seal and touched the ground. Kekai, Shujin no Yang. Barrier, prisoners encampment, Naruto shouted. A barrier appeared and surrounded Naruto and the red-haired shinobi. Naruto was having a hard time holding the guy down. He had never felt such chakra. He had poured everything into the barrier to keep him down. He suddenly caught something coming at him from the left. It was a wooden puppet, and it was coming right at him. Happian. Harpoon, Jacken shouted. The puppet stopped and backed away, but not before losing a limb. Jacken appeared to Naruto's side and faced down the puppet. Anko made a move to get the puppet, but had to jump back from the wind attack that came. Anko fired off a fireball at the tree and a blonde girl appeared. Anko pulled out her blade and charged. That's when a man appeared and made a beeline for Naruto. Magen Mujutsu. The area darkened. Genjutsu Kachiyos, Oni Keija Kami. A dozen wolves appeared, and attacked the man and the girl. Anko appeared in front of the man, and saw his height I-8. Ghost, bangs knuckles, stand down. Anko called out. She then faced the man. My name is Mitarashi Anko Konoha Jonin, and this is my squad. Identify yourselves Suna Shinobi. My name is Baki Suna Jonin, and this is my squad. We were only reacting to the fact that you have one of my wards. Baki said. Your ward was attempting to kill an injured man that crossed over the border. While we are allies, no Suna Shinobi is allowed to pass without confirmation. Do you have that confirmation? Anko asked. Baki did not say anything, but he relaxed a bit. Temurai, Kankuro, stop your attack. Baki ordered. They appeared next to their sensei. Light was returned and Yakumo and Jakin stood next to Naruto, standing at the ready. Baki looked at his last ward. He then turned back to Anko. If you would please release my ward. Thanks. Anko called out. Naruto released the barrier and stood. The boy blasted out of the ground and prepared to attack the blonde. Gaara. That is enough. Baki shouted. Gaara looked ready to ignore the order, but the fact that the blonde was about to use that barrier again, he listened. He called back his sand to the gourd and walked back toward the border. He ignored the others and continued on. He then stopped and faced the blonde. Naruto didn't know what he saw, but he could feel something similar with this guy. Gaara said gravely. You will prove my existence? With the said, he made his leave. Baki waved his team across the border. He faced Anko. My apologizes about what happened. That man you see there was a part of a group of bandits that we eliminated. Should there be a reward, I would believe that the money would be sent to Suna. He asked. That's something my Hokage would decide. Anko said. Baki said nothing else and left. The team released a large breath, and were wondering what the hell was wrong with that genin. Hiruzen rubbed his chin, and had a serious look on his face. What Team Anko had just reported was very disturbing. He looked at his one-time student, and saw that he had something on his mind. Naruto, what are you thinking about? Was it the threat made by the one called Gaara? Hiruzen asked. No, I'm not worried about that. It was that look in his eyes when he faced me. He's lost in some sort of madness and anger. I've had a similar look in my eyes when I was younger. I don't know for sure, but that guy could be just like me. Naruto explained. Wait a minute, are you saying that we were fighting a freaking Jinchuriki? Jakin asked. I'm only guessing. I really don't know for sure. I never knew any shinobi from Suna with the ability to control sand. The Sandaime, 3rd, Kasugage was known for his Sadatsu, iron sand. I've never seen someone control regular sand like that. Naruto said. I will have Drea look into this. In the meantime, take the rest of the day off. Hiruzen said. Team Anko bowed before leaving. As they left, Inoichi and the head doctor appeared. They stood and faced the Hokage. Report. The man will survive. Anko's quick thing saved him when she sealed the wound with a fire jutsu. Several gashes on his body, all of them had a sliver of sand. We found that the part of the arm he lost was first crushed then ripped off. The doctor said. Hiruzen nodded and faced Inoichi. I searched his mind, but I only got a brief look before his mind jumbled. That shinobi that faced Team Anko was the sole ninja that brutally killed that whole camp. It was him and no one else. Inoichi explained. This worried the old Kage. If Suna had someone like that in their ranks, then he would definitely make good on his threat. He thanked the two and made plans to contact Drea. He needed information on this Gaara. Chapter 28, Anko's Consequence. The members of Team Anko had just been let go by Anko. They were sitting at a tea shop that was located near Jakin's home. They were sitting around eating dango and drinking green tea. So, how are we getting back at Sensei? Yakumo asked. You got me. What about you, Pipsqueak? You're the prank master. Jacken said. Well, I did have one idea. However, this idea comes with some severe consequences. Naruto said. Come on, how bad can it be? Jacken asked jokingly. Naruto sighed and revealed his plan to his teammates. As he explained, they got pale and shook with fear. When he was done, Jacken and Yakumo looked at him like he was crazy. Are you nuts? If we did this to Anko, she will kill us, literally. She'll gut us and leave our bodies somewhere that it would never be found. Jacken exclaimed. Yeah, Naruto, squads of Anbu wouldn't be able to stop her. Yakumo added. I know that, but it is the most humiliating thing I can think of. If we do this, then we need to be all in. Naruto said. Yakumo and Jacken looked scared, but the thirst for revenge was strong. Okay, I'm in. Yakumo said. You only live once, right? So what are we going to do, Naruto? Anko groaned and grabbed her head. She had a splitting headache and needed some aspirin. She didn't even know how much she drank last night. All she remembered was being invited to a bar with Kurena and Yugao. After that, everything was a blur. She groaned again and reached for her aspirin. That when she realized the warm body blocking her. She looked down at herself and saw that she too was naked. Anko wasn't too surprised as this had happened before. She removed the covers to get the guy out of bed when she froze. Her eyes were wide at who was in her bed. There could be no way that this could have happened. Not even in a drunken stupor would she even think of sleeping with him. That's when she saw the flash. Anko whipped her head around to see Yugao and Kurena. They were both smiling and Yugao was holding a camera. Wow, I can't wait to show this to my guys. Yugao said with a laugh. That's when Mato guy woke up. He looked around and saw Kurena, Yugao and Anko. Ah, my youthful comrades, how are you this fine day? Guy asked. Anko released a very ear-splitting scream. Are you sure that we're safe here? Jacken asked. The team was currently having lunch at the Korema compound. Yeah, I heard Anko scream. It'll probably take her 5 minutes to kill Guy, attempt to get the camera and kill both Kurena-san and Yugao-san. Naruto added. I know what you mean, but not even Anko-sensei will attack in clan compound, no matter how pissed she might be. Let's just hope Guy-sensei, Yugao-senpai and Kurena manage to get away. Yakumo said. They guys just nodded and ate. That's when something crashed through the wall. The dust settled to reveal Anko standing on the head of Mai. They all flinched at the look of rage on her face. So, you think you little bitches are cute, huh? Well then, I hope you got your jollies because now you're about to die. Anko roared. The team didn't waste any time and took off. Anko and Mai chased right after them. The chase continued throughout the village, which they hoped that Anko would not use Mai. They were dead wrong and several people were nearly trampled over. Some buildings were destroyed and some roads became unusable. Stop running and face your doom like warriors. Anko shouted. Kiss my ass. Jacken exclaimed. Don't waste time replying. Just keep running. Naruto said. They all continued to run away from Anko and her pet. It would take 2 hours for various Jonin and Chunin to subdue Anko and her pet. It took another 2 hours to subdue Anko again after she got free and managed to get her hands on her students. Hiruzen decided to send them away for a month before he lost whatever pieces of hair he had left. Chapter 29, Doing the Wave Part 1. Chapter 27, Doing the Wave Part 1. Team Anko was moving through the trees at a fast pace. They were packed light just so that they could reach their destination quickly. Why they were so urgent to get to their destination could be summarized by the meeting they had 2 hours ago. Flashback. Team Anko stood in front of the Hokage with their packs. They were called off a D-rank mission and told to pack. They appeared in front of the Hokage and awaited the situation. Hiruzen faced them with a serious expression. A day ago, I received a message from Team Kakashi. They are currently on a C-rank mission to protect a bridge builder to Nami no Kuni Land of Wave. However, the situation has greatly changed. They were ambushed by the Oni Kyode demon brothers. They were dealt with but new information surfaced. It seems that the client Tazuna lied about the mission parameters. Hiruzen explained. What is the truth, sir? Anko asked. It seems that Tazuna is being hunted by Gato of Gato Company. He is out to stop Tazuna from completing a bridge that would connect Nami no Kuni with the mainland. Apparently Gato is not who he presents himself to be. This mission has been bumped up to a B-rank mission because of what Gato may do next. Hiruzen explained. You may wish to bump that up to an A-rank mission, sir. Jacken said. I've read the bingo books and the Oni Kyode are known associates with the Kirigakure no Kaijin demon of the mist. Yes, they were with Momoki Zabuza when he defected. Anko added. Very well then, your mission is to assist Team Kakashi in protecting the bridge builder. You are to leave immediately. Hiruzen ordered. Yes, sir. They all said and vanished. Present. Anko turned her head slightly to face her teammates. Okay, we're about a day from the shore. We're not going to stop to gain passage to Nami. We'll rest, rebuild our chakra, and run across. Am I understood? Anko asked. Hi, sensei. They all said. It took about a day and a half to reach Nami. Team Anko moved stealthily into the lands and looked for any trace of Team Kakashi. Anko figured that they would have caught up with them by now. They searched for a while before the smell of battle caught Anko's attention. They moved silently to the location and found what looked to be the battleground. This must have been one hell of a party. Let's spread out and look for a trail. Anko ordered. They did just that and checked the battleground. Jacken noticed a deep slice in one of the trees. Sensei, it looks like they encountered Zabuza. This gash could have only been made with a huge sword. Jacken reported. The ground is a bit soggy. It looks like they were doing battle on the lake. Naruto added. Let's follow the trail. Anko said. As they followed the soggy trail, they found some blood on a tree and 4 kunai lying on the ground. Anko picked up one of them and observed it. This is one of ours, I can tell by the quality. So it looks like Kakashi won the fight, but where's the body? Anko asked. Sensei, I found some footprints and one drag mark. It looks like they went this way. Yakumo said. Alright, let's get moving. Anko ordered. The team followed the prints, erasing them as they moved. They arrived to a house that was on a lake. Anko was very concerned as there wasn't even a security system put in place. She saw no one guarding the place and was very concerned that they might have arrived too late. Anko made some hand motions to her team and they nodded. They moved on the house from all angles. Yakumo looked into the home and was surprised to see the team doing nothing but sit around. She gave Anko the situation using sign language. Anko was a bit put off by the lazy attitude of Kakashi's students. She let out a low whistle and her team came to her. She knocked on the door and waited. Like she thought, the door was carelessly opened by the female of Team Kakashi. She didn't even have a kunai in her hand. She gave them this stupid confused look. Yes, can we help you? The girl asked. Anko just sighed and rubbed her forehead. This was going to be a very long mission. Yakumo moved her hands over Kakashi's prone form. While she wasn't really looking to become a medic, she did learn how to do first aid. She did learn one technique called the Shasen Jutsu, mystical palm technique, which she was using right now. She stopped the flow of chakra and let out a breath. He has a mild case of chakra exhaustion. I did what I could be, he'll still be out for 5 days. He should be waking up any second. Yakumo said. Good, because I got a few choice words for him. Go downstairs and find out about their encounter with Zabuza. Something tells me that we haven't seen the last of him. Yakumo nodded and left to check on her team and Kakashi's. Anko arrived down to the living room. The only people there were her team and Kakashi's team. She looked around for the family. They went to bed. I secured their windows and any other entry points. Naruto said. What about the perimeter? Anko asked. It's secure. We found 2 old animal trails while we were setting up. The pipsqueak said that he would send some clones in the morning to check them out. Jacken said. Good, Anko said and turned toward Yakumo. What did you learn from them? Well, it looks like your hunch was right. Zabuza is still alive. She said, surprising Team Kakashi. After Sai managed to free Kakashi from Zabuza, Kakashi used his Sharingan and defeated Zabuza. A Kiri-Onin hunter ninja appeared to have killed Zabuza and took his body away. Anko sighed and turned to face Kakashi's team. Exactly what did this Onin use? Anko asked. Well, the Onin used Senbon needles and struck Zabuza in the neck. Still, Kakashi-sensei checked his pulse and everything. He was certainly dead. Sakura answered. I use Senbon myself but mine are dipped in poison. A very skilled user of the weapon can kill a person or put them in a death-like state. That also means that Zabuza's ally may know some first aid as well. That gives us about a week before Zabuza tries again. Anko explained softly. She pondered for a second before facing them all. Okay, this is how. Wait a second, you put you in charge. Sasuke suddenly said, cutting her off. Excuse me? Anko asked with a tone. Jacken and Naruto quickly got out of the line of fire. You're not the seniority here. This is our mission. Your team is only here to back us up. You shouldn't be giving out orders until Kakashi wakes up. Sasuke said to her with an I'm better than you tone. Anko just looked at him with a raised eyebrow. He suddenly found himself on the ground, a stinging sensation on his cheek. Just to clear things up, who's a Jonin? Anko asked. That would be you. Sasuke said. Anko nodded and backhanded him again, this time on the other cheek. Hey, you can't do that to Sasuke-kun. Sakura exclaimed. She suddenly felt that same stinging sensation and fell onto her butt. She was holding her cheek. Sasuke growled and looked ready to challenge Anko, but she quickly squashed any challenge by punching him in the head. When he hit the ground, Anko slammed her foot onto his head. Are you about done? Good, because I'm only going to say this once. Until Kakashi is 100%, you're my bitch. You will do what I say when I say. You're no way, shape, or form my superior. If you ever talk to me like that again, I'll cut your special man off and shove it down your throat. Do you understand me? Anko demanded. Yes, Anko-sensei. Sasuke muttered out. Since you're filled with energy, you and Naruto can take first watch. After them, it'll be the pink-haired failure and Yakumo. The last watch will be the pale ghost and Jacken. Now, get to work. Anko said, and took her foot off his head. Sasuke glared at her before storming out of the house. Naruto just followed him and said nothing. The rest of the genin got comfortable and waited for their shift. Kakashi opened his eyes to see a wooden ceiling. He cranked his head to his right and saw a pair of legs that were crossed. Looking up a bit, he saw his reading buddy. So the Hokage sent you. I must have good fortune. Kakashi said. I wouldn't really call it that. Let's just say my team is a lot better at these missions than you are. Anko said, not taking her eyes out of her book. Kakashi looked at her with a critical eye. You're angry with me. Kakashi said. What would give you that idea? Anko asked. Well, for one your legs are crossed. Then there's the attitude, and the angry twitch of your foot. Kakashi answered. It's good that you know me so well. Anko said. She then closed her book and looked at Kakashi. Yes, I am angry with you. You should have turned back to Konoha. Your team is definitely not mature enough for a mission this dangerous. I thought that it would get them to trust one another. Their teamwork is horrible. I thought a dose of the real world would have opened their eyes, but from your expression, it hasn't worked out that way. Kakashi said. No, it hasn't. The Uchiha thought he could talk to me like some rookie. The pink-haired waste of space is nothing more than a fangirl. I don't know about the pasty one. He seems to be hiding something. Anko said. He's a member of Danzo's group. Kakashi said. No kidding. I guess I can count on him then. Anyway, what do you want me to do with them? I know my team can do things without me, no problem. But I need to get your team ready to face Zabuza again. So he is alive. I figured as much. Well, can you teach them how to better control their chakra? Kakashi asked. Anko looked at him, and Kakashi shivered a little. Exactly how long have you had this team? Anko asked. About a month and a half. Why? Kakashi asked. Anko just sighed before launching herself at Kakashi. Anko came down from upstairs to face some very confused looks. What happened up there? It sounded like Kakashi was dying. Jacken said. He wishes. The pervert probably got off on that. Anyway, you three, pointing to the members of Team Kakashi, are to see Kakashi. After he talks to you, you're to meet me back down here so we can get you ready for Zabuza. She then faced Naruto. Did you check out those animal trails last night? Yeah, I used my clones. The trail behind the house leads toward a cave and to the main village. The trail at the front of the house actually leads toward the road to the bridge. In fact, it would be a perfect way to take to and from the bridge. It's also much closer. Naruto explained. Good, you're on guard duty today. Tazuna is to be attached to your hip. He moves, you move with him. He takes a piss, you help. Yakumo, you'll be doing recon. Get into the village and see what you can find. Jacken, you'll be with me in helping these three and ready for Zabuza. Anko said. Why do I have to help you babysit? Jacken asked. Hey, I'm not doing this by myself just because that bastard upstairs is too lazy to actually train his own genin. Besides, we're training them my way. Anko said. You think that's a good idea, sensei? We're used to your training methods. The girl won't even last 5 minutes. Yakumo said. Tough titties, they'll get stronger, or they'll die. Anko said with annoyance. She then looked at Kakashi's team. Are you still here? They got up, and quickly made their way upstairs. Naruto stood up, and looked at Jacken. Just make sure that she doesn't kill them. Naruto said to him. Jacken nodded at him. Okay, old man, I'm ready when you are. Tazuna just nodded and followed him out. As they walked, Tazuna just had to ask. Hey kid, is your sensei crazy? He asked. I wouldn't say crazy. Psychotic, bloodthirsty, horny, those are words that would best describe sensei, but crazy isn't one of them. Naruto said. Tazuna just kept quiet for the rest of the journey to the bridge. Chapter 30, Doing the Wave Part 2. Chapter 28, Doing the Wave Part 2. It was getting dark when Anko returned with Team Kakashi. All three genin looked beaten up and dirty. As they entered, they saw Naruto, Yakumo and Kakashi with Tazuna's family. Anko wondered how Kakashi got out of bed when she noticed the crutches. Kakashi looked at his team before looking at Anko. How was your day? He asked with an eye smile. Don't smile at me, you one-eyed pervert. I can't believe you accepted this mission with such a piss-poor team. They only lasted an hour after some real training. The girl is the most pathetic of the bunch. Anko spat. Now, let's not get angry, Anko. I was going to train them eventually. Kakashi said. Whatever. Just keep teaching them the tree climbing exercise. Especially with her, because her chakra reserves are the worst. Anko said. I'll keep that in mind. Kakashi said. Anko sat down with everyone and began to eat dinner. XXX. After dinner and ignoring Inari, Team Anko and Team Kakashi had a meeting. They were all in the room where Kakashi was staying. Alright, with what we know about Zabuza, I will be preparing my team for when he returns. It will be likely that his accomplice will be with him this time. Team Anko will handle the guard duty of Tazuna. Kakashi said. Yakumo, what did you find out on your day around town? Anko asked. We shouldn't expect any help from the villagers. Gato has them scared like mice. His base of operations is centered on the docks. His compound isn't near the village. He has a bunch of thugs walking around like they own the place. Two attempted to follow me, but I managed to lose them. Gato has truly destroyed this village's spirit. Yakumo said. So what are we going to do? Asked Jacken. We could always take off the head of the snake. Commented Naruto. While that might work, Gato is the type of person who would probably have someone in the wait to take over his business. Assassination is out. Anko said. Everyone was silent for a while before Yakumo had an expression on her face. What if we have Zabuza take Gato out for us? Yakumo asked. Everyone looked at her with curiosity. Remember your prank on Anko, Naruto? Remember how for a while, everyone thought Anko was with Guy-sensei? Yakumo said. This made the boys smirk and Anko growled. Your point being? Anko growled. What if we can make Zabuza feel that Gato will betray him? A person with his reputation has to be the type of person who backs out of his deals. Yakumo said. I get where you're going. It isn't a bad idea. Anko said. I agree. If we pull this off, Tazuna will be safe to complete the bridge, and Zabuza will have to move on. Kakashi said. What are you guys talking about? Asked Sakura. That is really none of your business, Pinky. This is something my team will handle, as this is right up our alley. I'll be taking my team out of here so that we can further go over the plan. Anko said. Why aren't we involved with the plan? Who do you think you are to just cut us out? Sasuke demanded. Because my team is battle-tested. They know how to be a team and complete the job. I don't need a fangirl and a guy with a superiority complex holding us back. You got a problem with that? Anko asked, daring him to answer. Sasuke just growled at her, but did not say anything to her. That's what I thought. Do we have anything else to talk about? No, I think that's it. I'll allow you to discuss your plan with your team. Kakashi said. She nodded and ordered her team out of the room. Once gone, Kakashi turned to his team. You're lucky that she didn't give you another red cheek, Sasuke. She isn't someone you want to piss off. Kakashi said. Who does she think she is? She comes here acting like her team is much better than us. Whatever they're planning, I should be a part of it. I am a Uchiha and my skills could help. Sasuke exclaimed. And yet, you can't even climb up a tree without your hands dickless. Sai mocked with a smile. Shut up, Sai. Don't call Sasuke-kun that. Sakura exclaimed. Kakashi just sighed again and wondered who he upset to get such a team. XXX. Team Anko was outside of the house and were a few feet away. Anko faced her team who were waiting for her to explain the plan. So we're about to do some espionage, right? Jacken said. That's right. Continuing from what Yakumo was talking about, we get Zabuza and Gato to turn on each other. I want to hear some ideas on how we do that. Anko said. They were thinking about it when Jacken came up with an idea. Zabuza's bounty is pretty high and he does wield one of the swords of the Kiri no Shinobigate Shishinen Shu, 7 ninja swordsmen of the mist. What if we begin spreading the word that Kiri's Oinin is here and they are looking for him? I can use my clones and change them into Kiri Oinin. We can have them move around the town just to prove the rumors true. Naruto said. Gato would have to confirm those rumors and face the Oinin. Still, Gato might just kill the Oinin. Anko said. Who says that it has to be one team? It could be a bunch of teams. The Pipsqueak is a one-man army. Jacken said. Okay, it's a good plan. Naruto, you'll be using a lot of chakra, so be prepared. Anko said. Gotcha. Naruto said. Jacken and Yakumo, go into the village and blend in. Spread the rumors around and get Gato attention. When he feels the need to talk, I'll step in as leader. Naruto will be my backup. Anko explained. Hi. They answered. XXX. Anko was guarding Tazuna. She looked at the bridge and had to admit that it was very impressive. When it was finished, it would be pretty strong. She guessed that it would take several explosive notes to bring the whole thing down. She turned when she saw some of the men looking at her. She gave them a wink which caused two men to crash into each other. She chuckled as she enjoyed doing that to men. She was so glad that she grew a nice pair of breasts. They were like the ultimate teasing material. I wish you wouldn't do that to my men. Tazuna said with annoyance. Please, you're one to talk. You think I don't know that you were staring at my ass? Anko asked with mirth. Tazuna had a small blush, but quickly shook it off. Where that blonde student of yours? He's the most helpful with that technique of his. Tazuna said. He's doing a mission. Hopefully, we can get Gato off your back with this. Anko said. You think that you can? Gato isn't really intimidated by people. Tazuna said. He's only brave because of that army of thugs he has surrounding him. Trust me, he's nothing but a bully. Me and my team with this little side mission will show how much of a coward he is. By the end, Gato will be a bad stain of Nami's history. Anko said. XXX. 2 days had passed and the plan was in full effect. Jakin and Yakumo easily slipped into the town's populace. That's when Naruto began his part of the plan and had several of his clones disguised as Kiri Oinen walk around town. Jakin and Yakumo began spreading the rumor, which continued to spread throughout the village. It got back to Gato, who was instantly worried. He knew Kiri's reputation and wanted nothing to deal with them. He ordered his thugs to avoid the Kiri Nin and find out where the rumor came from. The thugs did as they were told and strong-armed everyone. They were led to Jakin, who was pretending to be an orphan who wanted to get into Gato crew. They took him to see the boss. They covered his head with a bag, but Jakin took in everything by smell, hearing and touch. He made a mental map of where they were taking him. They removed the bag and Jakin was face to face with Gato. This kid is where the rumor started from. Gato asked. Yeah, we questioned everyone and they pointed us to this kid. We even have witnesses that saw him talking with the Kiri Shinobi. The thug said. Gato then faced Jakin. So kid, what did those Kiri Shinobi want? He demanded. Hey now, I may be an orphan but I know the price of information. Like I told your goons, I want to be paid. Jakin said. It depends on your information. Tell me what you know. Gato ordered. Well, I don't know much. All I know is that they were tipped off that a missing nin from their village is in the area. They said something about a guy with a huge sword. I told them that I didn't know anyone like that. They told me that I would get a little reward if I know something about it. They really want whoever this guy is because they're not leaving. Jakin explained. They? How much of them are here? Gato asked. I don't really know. I've seen at least 3 teams walking around the place. Jakin said. Gato was gripping his cane with frustration. If those teams found out that he hired Zabuza, they will kill him and anybody associated with him. He looked at Jakin and reached into his pocket. He threw a roll of ryo and faced him. There's more in it for you if you can get in touch with them again. Gato began to write down something on a piece of paper. You give them this paper, and I'll let you into my organization. Gato said. Alright Gato-sama, I'll get right on it. Jakin said with excitement. Gato snapped his fingers, and they took the kid away. One of his men looked at him. Are you going to set them up? He asked. Are you serious? No, I'm going to trade in Zabuza's life. His fee was too much anyway. We'll handle Tazuna and his bridge another way. These shinobi are too damn unreliable. Gato cursed. XXX. Yakumo walked around the village carrying 2 bags worth of groceries. As she walked around, she noticed that she was being followed again. She turned slightly to see that it was the same goons from last time. She cursed and decided to walk faster. The goons sped up to catch up to her. Yakumo began to run a short way before ducking into an alley. She waited for them and pulled out a small blade. As she could hear the footsteps, she was suddenly grabbed and pulled away. When the goons arrived, they only found 2 bags of groceries. They looked around for Yakumo, but soon gave up and walked away. As soon as the coast was clear, 2 heads popped out of a dumpster. Yakumo looked at her savior, who gave her a smile. XXX. The 2 teens were washing themselves in the river. Yakumo was wringing out the water in her hair when she looked at her savior. She had almost mistaken him for a girl. His features were very feminine, but that Adam's apple was that of a man's. She gave him a look over and had to admit that he was kind of cute in a feminine way. She especially liked his hair. I have to thank you again for your assistance. I've been getting followed a lot lately. Yakumo said. It's no problem. I couldn't allow someone cute like you get bothered by those men. The boy said. Yakumo smiled and had a little blush on her cheeks. My name is Yakumo. What's yours? She asked. My name is Haku. He greeted. Well, I thank you again, Haku, for being my white knight. Yakumo said. It was an honor, my lady. Haku said and bowed. It made Yakumo giggle. He was a charming person. I should really get going. She said. Would you like me to walk you home? He asked. No, that's okay. Besides, I'm not supposed to be outside. My mother is worried about those Kiri ninja around. Haku didn't show it, but he was curious about what she had just said. Kiri ninja? He asked. You mean that you don't know? There is a bunch of shinobi with the symbol of Kirigakure on their mask. I don't know how many there are, but they're all over the place. Yakumo explained. Haku kept his face neutral as he took in that information. He then smiled at her. Thank you for telling me. I'll be sure to tell my father about that. I hope that we meet again, Yakumo. Haku said. I hope so too, Haku. The 2 went their separate ways. As soon as she was out of sight, Haku vanished using the Shunshin body flicker. He needed to get this information to Zabuza immediately. That's it for this part. If you enjoyed it, then like, share and subscribe for the next video, as it's going to be more interesting, and also check out my other playlists. Hope you would like them too.